What's up, Bulls Nation? My name is Aiden and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, in our last video, we talked about the 9 potential worst starters we have seen in the Zach LaVine era for this Bulls team. It was an article I was reacting to and I thought to myself, well, look, we could talk about the worst signings, sure, the worst starters, sure, but we can also talk about the underrated pieces because there were some people I didn't necessarily agree with in terms of the worst starters list. There are a bunch of starters out there for this Bulls team that I think you could put on that list. But regardless of that fact, we can now turn our heads to underrated pieces. Some people that we actually liked on this Bulls team, and of course give our own opinions on that. Now granted, this is my list. Nobody else's but my own. I didn't follow or copy anybody's list. I thought of all these guys by myself, and I wanted to bring it to your attention here. And of course, you can feel free to agree or disagree with any of the people that I have on this list, because that's your right and your opinion to have. But before we get any further, if you like the video and you want to see more from me, drop a like, drop a follow, and or subscribe if you are new. And let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the underrated pieces in this Chicago Bulls team, not just starters. I'm sure all of these guys at one point started for the Bulls, but just overall your underrated Chicago Bulls players in the Zach LaVine era. What's your list? I have 10 people in mind, and by the way, this is not in any chronological order, so let's start off with the people that I had a problem with in that previous list, with number 1 being Robin Lopez. I had a big problem with him being in that list because, again, I thought out of all the pieces, he was the one that probably did his role at a decent level. He was on a bad team with this Bulls team, right? And of course, when he did join different teams, he was a bench player. He was that bench warmer. But on this Bulls team, he did his job the way that he knows how. And he's done it for previous teams in the past. Solid post player. Solid in the defensive work. Good at rebounding. Brought some charismatic energy to the Chicago Bulls team. And he did all of it with a smile and some rage moments here or there. I very much had a fond time watching Robin Lopez on this team. It was a time where we didn't have that much to celebrate. But at the end of the day, a lot of people respected Robin Lopez as a veteran, as a solid piece to a team. And that's how I view him as. So calling him the worst starter, one of the worst starters in the Zach LaVine era, I just humbly disagree with that statement. I don't believe that to be true. And that's why I call him underrated. We also have Garrett Temple. Very, very big problem with calling Garrett Temple one of the worst starters because I see him as a glue guy. Not every starter is going to be dropping 25 points per game and a superstar player that's getting the max contract. It just doesn't happen. Sometimes you need glue guys, and I think a lot of these guys were considered glue guys in their time, and Garrett Temple was one of them. A journeyman, yes, but there's a reason why people called him one of the best teammates they ever played with, because the NBA players very much respect Garrett Temple, and that's why I consider him underrated, because if the players are respecting him and respecting the hustle that they put in, the energy that he puts into every single team and environment, then why are people saying he's one of the worst starters? The NBA clearly respects him, so therefore I call him underrated. And plus, if you actually watched him, he was a glue guy. He was a fantastic player to watch in that department. Not everybody's going to get the amazing stats, and a lot of them you're going to see on this list as well. And another guy, Justin Holiday. I call Justin Holiday very underrated for a variety of reasons, but I consider one of the pieces, granted, he's been here for ages, you know, he comes and goes to this Bulls team essentially, but if we didn't re-sign him or bring him back 3 times already, I would actually consider bringing him back again, because he is someone that I would really like on this team, a 3-and-D player that could come off of this bench and contribute. Who wouldn't want that right now at this point with our lack of shooting and even sometimes the lack of forward quality that we had? So yeah, Justin Holiday I consider underrated because he brought those things to the Chicago Bulls. Granted, again, we were on a bad team and Justin Holiday had to start. I wouldn't put him in a starters list for this current team, but I would definitely welcome him in off the bench in my opinion. I call him underrated for that reason. Plus, I know he loves the Bulls because he wouldn't just keep coming back if he didn't love the Bulls. So yeah, I have no problems with Justin Holiday, and I do consider him underrated because he brings qualities that this current Bulls team could need. But let's turn into some of the guys that weren't mentioned on that list, and I want to start off with Javonte Green. Javonte Green is a player right now that doesn't have a team, but we can't forget when at our best in this Zach LaVine era, who was the starting power forward? Yes, it was supposed to be Patrick Williams, but unfortunately due to his injury, it was Javonte Green. And my goodness, did he take that opportunity and run with it. And I do mean that literally. He ran with that opportunity, ladies and gentlemen. His energy, his hard work, the dirty work that not many other Bulls players wanted to do, he did in abundance. And even though he was undersized, he brought a lot of energy, and he brought a lot of hustle into that position. And that's exactly what we needed. With a whole bunch of scorers, sometimes you needed someone to do that dirty work. Another glue guy, in my opinion. And I wanted to give respect to him. And he's one of those guys that I would welcome back to the Bulls this day if his injuries do clear up. So let's hope that can happen. But I just hope he finds a home in the NBA in general. Let's move to somebody else that is no longer on this Bulls team, and someone that I feel like is underrated. That's Wendell Carter Jr., a center for the Chicago Bulls at the time, picked 7th overall, that I think we did mismanage, and that's another reason why I put him on this list. There are a couple of people that I feel like we mismanaged here, but nonetheless, I consider him underrated because what he basically was able to do with Orlando and how his role changed, how he changed as a player. And I felt like we could have had that with this Bulls team. There are some people till this day that believe we should have not traded for Nikola Vucevic and kept Wendell Carter on the team. Now, I'm not one of those people, I'll be honest with you, but I can respect those people because Wendell Carter has turned into a very good player, one of Orlando's best players, and they have an up-and-coming team, to say the least, and Wendell Carter is going to be a part of that journey, which is great for him. But we did mismanage him, and injuries did get in the way, and yes, he didn't always produce for this Bulls team, but if you expected him to be a Joel Embiid type center, a superstar center in this league, yes, he underachieved. But as a solid piece to a team, I consider him underrated, and that's why he's on this list. But someone that is still on this list that I consider in the same vein, Kobe White. I think Kobe White is very underrated, but depending on the season, you could call him overrated as well. Season 1, I would consider him underrated. Season 2 and 3, a lot of people turned their back on him and considered him overrated. And Season 4 into his NBA career, he's back to being an underrated player. I mean, pick the season, he might just be an overrated or underrated player. But right now, considering he's on a team-friendly deal right now as well, I consider him very underrated. And that's because even though he was our best player, our second best player, my apologies, at one point in his NBA career, now he's nowhere near that category, yet he still produces for the Bulls at a very good level. So yes, I consider him underrated because he's basically done every role for the Chicago Bulls in that guard position, yet he still finds his way to be a Bulls player and to contribute to this team. Underrated in every sense of the word, in my opinion. Let's move over into the next one. Daniel Theis. Played for a short time here, but I think Daniel Theis was massively underrated. I still miss what he was able to produce off of the bench and sometimes even starting in that center position. A very, very solid player that obviously went to the Houston Rockets and did not return to this Bulls team, but I know a lot of people wanted Daniel Theis to stay here. And unfortunately, that wasn't the case. But again, we cannot discredit what he was able to produce at a short time with this Bulls team. And congratulations for winning the FIBA World Cup, Daniel Theis. Very good accomplishment for you. Number 8, Larry Markkanen. I'm going to keep this one short. The real reason I think Larry Markkanen was considered underrated is because we mismanaged him. I think the coaching staff mismanaged him. I think the injuries got in the way. But we basically turned him into a catch-and-shoot player where clearly when you look at him on the Utah Jazz, he is much more than a catch-and-shoot player. And I didn't think we brought enough confidence to him that allowed him to thrive. I consider him underrated because we mismanaged him a little bit, in my opinion. It's not all our fault. Again, none of these plays that fail is all our fault, but we've got to take our own responsibility in that way. Let's move to number 9. I consider this guy very underrated, Bobby Portis. Again, I feel like a lot of people don't even remember Bobby Portis playing with Zach LaVine, but he did. And boy, oh boy, I think we all could use a Bobby Portis right now. We could all literally reminisce on the times that Bobby Portis was a Chicago Bull. And of course, he found a home in Milwaukee. He found a home very, very close to the Bulls, in all fairness. And I hope he still has love for this Bulls team because I think a lot of Bulls fans still have love for him. He was a fantastic bench player. He brought a lot to the starting role when he was able to as well. Pick and pops, hustle, obviously the charismatic energy as well. I very much miss Bobby Portis, and I still wish he was on this Bulls team every now and then. And the clear one to sum it up, number 10, Thaddeus Young is one of the most underrated players we have ever seen in the Chicago Bulls team in the Zach LaVine era. This guy did it all for us. He had one of his best seasons I've ever seen in a Bulls uniform. Playmaking, scoring, post play, defense, play backup center, starting center. This guy did it all, and he's one of the most underrated players. What do you guys think? Thank you all so much for watching. Drop a like and a follow and or subscribe if you are new, and I will see you in the next one. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care, and peace.